Get the analysis. Natia Seskuria joins us, Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute. Natia, thanks for being with us. And good to have you, because we need from you a perspective here that gets this into a focus. There is so many aspects happening at this present moment in time, and so many question marks floating around. Of course, all starting with that phone call between Trump and Putin last Wednesday.
Thank you very much for having me, Mark. It's good to be back on your program. As you mentioned, so much has happened in the past few days. I think this phone call gave reason for European allies, and particularly Ukraine, to be really worried about the potential peace deal. And on top of that, we heard the speech from J.D. Vance, who never mentioned Ukraine during his speech, and the expectation was that we would hear the details of this peace plan during the Munich Security Conference. However, Trump decided that it was better choice to have face-to-face for Marco Rubio to have face-to-face meeting with his counterpart, which sends a really alarming message, I think, particularly for Ukraine, because as President Zelensky mentioned, it is important and necessary to have Ukraine at the negotiation table. And even if there will be no deal reached, it is important to include Ukraine when it comes to deciding what would be the next steps in terms of ending the war in Ukraine.
Olaf Scholz this evening in Paris saying it's important that the US and Europe work together on all security matters, basically making a plea for the preservation of NATO and for the primacy of NATO in these situations.
Well, he's right, but I don't think, based on what we've heard so far, I don't think this is necessarily what U.S. administration, Trump administration, agrees with. One thing is obvious: the U.S. is no longer interested in playing the same role in terms of ensuring European security. This is a wake-up call for European countries, and also highlights that there is a need to change certain approaches, particularly when it comes to how they approach defense and security of Europe. I think Munich Security Conference also revealed that there is a lot of tension right now within the European allies, and a bit of confusion when it comes to what would transatlantic relations look like after what we've heard from the US administration.
Emmanuel Macron warned, I think we can go back as far as last May, about the threat to Europe that was, he said, very, very, very present. There's been all kinds of warnings since then about what is happening. Obviously, with Trump coming to power, the whole equation changes again. Today, Keir Starmer said that he would be, not happy, that's the wrong word, he would be willing to put UK troops in a peacekeeping force going to Ukraine if a peace deal was agreed. How strong a statement is that? How good a statement is that in terms of the perspective going forward for Ukraine?
I think that is a very important statement, because one thing which is very much unclear, and this was also much discussed during the Munich Security Conference, in terms of security guarantees and what these security guarantees could look like for Ukraine. Unfortunately, there is no concrete response to that question. But one way in which this could be considered is what Keir Starmer basically suggests, and he highlighted that this is not just about the front line in Ukraine. This is a front line of Europe and of the UK. So it's an important message, and we have already heard that there are some allies which may follow Keir Starmer's statement, and may support this statement, such as Ulf Christensen, who mentioned that he might consider as well.
Natia, we're just hearing Volodymyr Zelensky arriving in Turkey for talks with Recep Tayyip Erdogan. What do you see as the aim there for Zelensky?
Well, Zelensky tries his best right now to get the best deal out of this, and for him, it's very important to have allies when it comes to entering these negotiations. Currently, it doesn't look like Ukraine is in a favorable position because it very much seems like Russia. What Russia wants out of this is to have direct negotiations with the United States and to decide the fate of Ukraine with President Trump and without Ukraine. So far, given that these meetings are taking place without Ukraine being involved directly, indicates that there is a reason for Zelensky to be concerned. So it's important for him to speak to European allies, but also to Turkey, which has played quite an important role in terms of mediating the discussions. And Turkey, as we know, even at the first stages of the war, has tried to play sort of mediating role in the conflict.
Natia, we need to leave it there, but there's so much more to discuss, isn't there? Natia Seskuria, Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute. Thank you for joining us here in France 24, as always, and sharing your analysis with us. Fascinating stuff, as always. Natia, thank you very much indeed. We're watching, as I keep saying, for all the